KSLX also asks, Weaver had downloaded every Skynet file, but in the Clio world, almost 100 years later, there are no T1000 entities. That is, okay, again, I'm going to say that I have absolutely no idea what Lemire is planning and what he's going to write. This is all that was in my head when I was writing it, and there's that. So this is not a spoiler at all, because he doesn't even know what this ending was. Because I did write another ending, one where Skynet won the war. And in that ending, there were two T1Ks around. In fact, the Proctor was a T1K. And I showed it on screen. But I do want to examine the question a little bit. It said that asked Weaver had downloaded every Skynet file. No, Weaver downloaded a few Skynet files. Weaver mostly was spying, finding out what Skynet was up to, what Skynet's actual plan was, because she didn't know either. She did not know about kind of the plantation scheme. She thought Skynet was more about the battle as well, because that was what her experience was in the previous futures. And also, this Skynet was a little kinder due to some of the actions that occurred both in Sarah Connor Chronicles and in my script. You know, both with the infiltration of Kaliba into John Henry, and also later in mine with John Henry and Murch sending out phages into the real world in order to help fight against what was then the emergent Skynet computer. These all had an effect on Skynet, so this Skynet isn't quite the same Skynet as Weaver had been experiencing, but it isn't too far different. So more than 200 years later, what do we see? Well, if Skynet wins, we see almost no T0Ks. The few T0Ks we see have Skynet chips in them, and they have no organic covering. They're just endos. But they are few and far between. They're so few it's almost not worth mentioning. Humans are still around for exactly the reason I said, plantation thing. Cleo is in that upper class, so she gets to live in a pretty nice place. And the T0Ks, they have their own little place. Savannah worked out a peace between the T1Ks and Skynet, so that Catherine could be what Catherine could be, with kind of the agreement that Skynet would also get to be. In the current future that you saw, Cleo is, as far as we can tell, human. That's my take on it. The blood was kind of a giveaway, although we did see Catherine do a fake out on that as well, but there would be no reason for Cleo to do that. Although we could have T0Ks having advanced to a point where they actually have a circulatory system, so they might be able to bleed. Hard to say at this point. I was leaning for Cleo actually being a descendant of Savannah, but again, not canon since I didn't say it anywhere. The Proctor, for all intents and purposes, I was thinking the Proctor was a T1K, but the Proctor could have also just been a descendant of Aaron or Tracy, or somebody actually named Proctor, or it could have been a T0K. It could have been Cameron, for all we know, or one of Cameron's more direct children. And in case anybody asks as to why Cleo had a slight electronic tone to her voice, it's because she was raised around cyborgs, ones that may not have had perfect resonance. So they sounded a little mechanical, and that's how she learned language. It's implied in her voice, assuming she's human, just a speech pattern. But it was meant to throw you off a little bit, so because I didn't want to give away who won, so I had to make Cleo very ambiguous. Was she human? Was she machine? Was the Proctor human? Was the Proctor machine? We do know that there was a T950 there, so we know that there's still some machines. So, yeah, I have my own ideas about what happened. That's something that if I had another season to write, I'd probably delve into that a little bit. Maybe split a season showing what happened after John and Cameron left, and splitting it like I did with the Sarah story, except split it now with the Cleo story. Cleo on her own, learning family history and doing her own things, seeing and kind of flipping things, seeing what happened in the past that's affecting Cleo's future now. But like I say, I have absolutely no idea. That's something that I might have done, though I haven't planned any of that. I'm just extemporizing right here. And I have no idea what Lumiere's plans are. So, yeah, so take that for what it's worth. And we'll go to the next question in the next video.